cold does not rush him. It waits, patient, unmoving. Inside the frozen shelter, time no longer behaves as it should. It stretches, settles, then holds still, as if the world outside has paused its breath and forgotten how to move forward. The walls do not speak, yet they listen. They gather every sound that was never made, every word that remained unformed, every thought left unfinished. He stands where silence has weight, where stillness presses inward. Here, movement feels unnecessary, almost intrusive. Nothing demands action, and yet nothing allows rest. The ice does not threaten him. It does not warn. It simply exists, unchanging, unforgiving, present in every direction. Each moment expands not because it is empty, but because it is filled with memory. Memory without images, memory without names. Only the feeling of what once was and what has not yet arrived. What once drifted freely now feels closer, heavier. Not as a vision, not as a memory recalled, but as a presence that refuses to remain distant. There is no urgency here, no signal, no command, only awareness. A quiet understanding that the mind cannot remain still forever, even when the body chooses to. The shelter offers no answers. It never promised to. It offers only space. And within that space, thoughts begin to shift, slowly, quietly, without announcement. Something prepares itself, not to move, but to change. The silence does not remain passive. It begins to narrow. What once felt wide and open now feels shaped, as if the space itself is slowly drawing closer, not to trap, but to focus. The cold presses differently now, not against the skin, but against thought. Each breath feels deliberate, measured, as though taken with awareness rather than need. The shelter remains unchanged, yet the way it is perceived does not. Edges feel sharper, distances feel shorter. The stillness no longer feels neutral. There is no sudden realization, no clear moment of understanding, only the quiet sense that something has begun to align. Time behaves strangely here. It does not pass forward. It settles, layer upon layer, until moments begin to feel heavier than minutes. What was once avoided now stands closer, not as fear, not as regret, but as something unavoidable, waiting to be acknowledged. The body remains still, rooted in place, yet the mind continues its movement. Thoughts no longer drift. They gather, they slow, they take shape. The silence reveals rather than hides. It strips away distraction, layer by layer, leaving only presence, only attention, only what can no longer be ignored. Nothing breaks, nothing collapses. There is no sound to mark the shift, yet something has changed, not around him, but within. The shelter does not move. The world does not respond. He does. The space ahead no longer feels empty. It feels prepared, not waiting, but ready. The cold deepens, not in temperature, but in clarity. Thought sharpens, distraction fades. What remains is simple and unavoidable. There is no signal to move, no voice to follow, yet the stillness itself begins to point forward, as if silence has direction, as if absence has weight. Time thins, moments stretch, then settle, until past and present no longer feel separate. What was once distant now stands close enough to be felt, close enough to remain. He does not resist this. There is no struggle here, no attempt to push away what has arrived, only recognition, quiet and steady. The weight he carries is not new. It did not begin here. It has been forming slowly, layer by layer, long before this moment. Now it rests fully in awareness, no longer shifting, no longer unnamed. The shelter offers its final truth, that remaining still is also a choice, and that every choice leaves something behind, whether acknowledged or not. He does not turn, he does not hesitate, not because certainty has arrived, but because delay no longer serves him. Stillness has done all it can. The silence does not break. It follows. It settles around him, not as an ending, but as a boundary. And as he stands at the edge of what remains unspoken, the world holds its breath once more. Not for what will happen, but for what can no longer be undone.